Who's hanging young hero besides your head and spirit? That soul is saying something profound, so let them hear it.
Welcome to Giant Size Violence, a Toku Comics podcast. I'm Tommy Trimbath, and today's guest is someone whose work I first encountered over 5 years ago when a Power Rangers fan comic of theirs was posted to Reddit. I remember being impressed by the book and the production quality that rivaled the official comics of the time, but I'll admit I hadn't given it much thought since. Fast forward a few years, and I find out the writer of that comic has now literally written the book on tokusatsu and kaiju movies, with quite an impressive backlog of comic books, graphic novels, children's books, and young reader novels under his belt. And his work has since been featured in the official Power Rangers comics, and he's brought tokusatsu to the world of children's books with his high-low reader series, The Gamer. With all that said, I'd like to welcome to the show a certified expert in tokusatsu and the author of the recently released Kaiju Unleashed, Shawn Pryor. Welcome to the show, Shawn.
Tommy, it's wonderful to be here. I can't say thanks enough. That was a beautiful intro. I really appreciate that. Also, I wanted to let you know, I did listen to the It's Morphin' Time episode and your interview with Sophie Campbell, and those were amazing episodes. The Morphin' Time episode was incredible. That was a journey. That was quite the journey. I have never partaken in the psychedelic drugs. However, just the way you told the story was incredible, and you coming to that decision of who you are is a beautiful thing. And that takes a lot of courage to do that. And so it's a beautiful episode. Very proud of it.
Wow. Thanks so much for checking that out. I really appreciate the kind words. That's definitely the work I'm probably proudest of at this point. But yeah, I really hope to make more like it in the future.
Cool.
I have to say, I absolutely loved Kaiju Unleashed, giving it a read. It took me back to how it felt being a little kid discovering like Godzilla fan sites and getting to read about all the Godzilla movies my movie store didn't have. And I thought it was a total blast, very nostalgic. But I'm curious, after completing a book this comprehensive, are you sick of kaiju movies now, or is it bittersweet knowing you've seen pretty much all of them?
It's not bittersweet, and it's not bittersweet, nor am I sick of them. It's more of a everything that I wrote. Because I wrote this book within the span of November, December, January, February, more 5 months. I wrote this book in the span of 5 months. And it's more of a thing of once I turned in that manuscript and after we did the edits were in April and May, I literally just zoned out. I zoned completely out. Everything I remembered, everything I remembered that I wrote in that book, I kept 10% of it. And so then when I finally, got my own copy, when I got my reader copies sent to me, and I started looking, I was like, oh yeah, I did write that. Yeah, I forgot about that. And so it's funny. I've been telling people for over doing these interviews for Kaiju Unleashed that the one thing I remember the most is the Great Grape Ape. One of the more obscure Hanna-Barbera characters, but it has a connection with me because of watching, because I didn't know it existed until in the 80s. There was the USA Network, and USA had the Cartoon Express. And and in the 80s, they basically worked out a deal with Hanna-Barbera, and they played all the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So the Yogi Bear shorts, Huckleberry Hound, they had them all except Scooby-Doo, because Scooby-Doo was popular. That meant more money. So but they had Great Grape Ape. They had all the off-brand, we spun basically off-brand Flintstones and off-brand Scooby-Doo shows. So instead of the Flintstones, you got to see Hanna-Barbera's The Roman Holidays, which took place in Rome, and it's essentially the Flintstones, but it takes place it just takes place in Rome, back in medieval times. Okay. And so instead of Scooby-Doo, you have Clue Club, okay? And Clue Club, see, Tommy, I am bad when it comes to tangents, and I sincerely apologize on the paths that I may take this show this evening. But with Clue Club, it was basically Scooby Doo, but it was like a brother, like an older brother, younger sister, two best friends, and two talking dogs. But the talking dogs couldn't talk to the humans; they just talked to each other, and so like, and that's like a lot of the '80s stuff that I consumed on top, like, your mainstream stuff, the Transformers, Real Ghostbusters, and all other stuff. But see, once again, tangents. But like, the Great Great Ape is the thing that like I remember the most. That and the 1970, like the late 1970, early 1980s Hanna Barbera Godzilla cartoon, which I immensely adore for the simple fact that Hanna Barbera were stuck with so many restrictions due to standards and practices. They still somehow found a way to make it work, even though like Godzilla doesn't have the same power set. He no longer has the atomic breath, but he can shoot lasers out of his eyes. you know,
Yeah.
but he still does Godzilla like things. And so, and that every episode is paced like a Godzilla movie in a lot of ways. And all those original kaiju that were created for that series, a lot of them look fantastic. So, like I know Hanna-Barbera kind of gets short shrifted because of, it gets short shrifted, but they made like a lot of good stuff with like $5 in a drink.
Yeah, and that's like the tokusatsu MO right there of shoestring budget, make something amazing, and then some people overseas with a shoestring budget will also make it into something they can sell to kids. Like
Yes.
that.
Yes. Oh yeah.
In your time since like finishing the writing and the edits of the book, have you found any other movies or anything else that you wish you had covered in the book?
Okay. Like one of the oh heck, it's one of the suit designers. And I forget the gentleman's name. They passed away like 2 months ago.
Hmm.
Like I may have briefly mentioned them in the book, but I didn't like go too far in deep. There was also like I literally the day I got the book, the day I got my copies, as soon as I touched the book, I was like, oh crap, I didn't put Reptar in here. Like
Yeah.
because like that's a Rugrat staple is Reptar, and I was like, I cannot believe I forgot the Rugrats Godzilla. Crap.
Yeah. And like you have the video game section, and like one of my favorite games as a kid was the Rugrats Reptar puzzle game where like the payoff at the end when you assemble the Reptar puzzle is you get to do a kaiju level and play as
Yes.
Reptar and it rules.
Yes, it's so much fun. So like I'm a little salty that I forgot that. For sure that I forgot Reptar, but for the most part, like everything we got pretty much everything that like I wanted to squeeze into this movie.
The one omission I was kind of surprised about, weirdly, the day I started reading the Daimajin chapter,
Mhm.
my Toku friend Natalie had messaged me and they're like, hey, have you ever heard of Daimajin? Like, he has this trilogy of movies that are all kind of the same but different. And he's also in The Great Yokai War as like a special appearance. And yeah, finding out about this like new Daimajin appearance in a totally different franchise, I was like, what
Mhm.
is this? Now that's on my watch list.
Oh yeah, Diamond is awesome. And the thing is, like, I didn't know about Diamond. I found that out through a friend who sent me like an article,
Hmm.
like via text, like 4 or 5 years ago, and like I was just like, well, I never heard of it, and I was like, well, this is fascinating, and the fact that they, like all those films, like there are 3 films in all, they all run pretty much about this.
Hmm.
They are all set up and paced the same, but the thing is that you don't get the payoff until the end. You don't get the payoff until the end. So you get caught up in the drama. You get caught up in the drama so much that it's not that you forget Diamond, but when Diamond finally shows up, it's like, oh yeah, that's what we're here for. Okay, destroy everything. But like wreak vengeance on evil people. Great, fantastic. But like I do like the drama element in Diamond, as I do with like even with like the Godzilla films, even the ultra campy ones, and things like that. There's still a human element to them, and the focus is always on Japan, as opposed to the United States, where the focus is on Godzilla.
Yeah, and that's one thing with the few Godzilla comics I've read that I like they're better served focusing on that human element because you're never going to do better kaiju action in a comic than you are in a movie, or just it's not going to scratch the same itch. But like, did you read the Godzilla Valentine's Day special this last
No,
year?
no, I now that one I did miss out on. I haven't read it yet. How was it?
It's great. Yeah, Zoe Tunnel. It was like her Godzilla debut. She did a great job, and it is just like a love story that takes place while like an organization is dealing with Godzilla in the background. Like love story between like Japanese Defense Force and some rogue journalist getting footage, and it's very sweet. And I honestly wish it was a series, but it's the most I've enjoyed a Godzilla comic so far.
That's awesome. Yeah, I follow Zoe on social media, and they're really good at
Mm.
writing comics. Like they have a comic called Blade Maidens,
Mm.
which is also really good.
Now, I really appreciated that you included a chapter on Ultraman in the book. And well, I know like an entire book could be written about his franchise and the other Toku superheroes as well. I'm curious if after coming out of this experience, like, do you have any desire to make something like Henshin Unleashed to follow up on this and explore that side of Tokusatsu?
If the publisher has interest, yes. I would love to do a book on Henshin heroes and metal heroes, space sheriffs,
Mhm.
and things like that. With Common Rider, like there are so many Common Riders, so many, and like with Ultraman, there's like four generations of Ultraman. There's four generations of Ultras, and even though that there's like this like little break, there's a break like how Common Rider took like I want to say it was like anywhere between 10 to 15 years off.
Mhm.
They were just like there's no Common Rider, and then they came back and everybody appreciated it again. With Ultraman, it was a thing of well, we want Ultraman to work in the United States, and every single attempt in the 80s and early 90s failed. And like sometimes that's due to say, for instance, oh, here comes Power Rangers. We don't need this Ultraman. We don't need it. We got Power Rangers, even though they're different things and yet still the same. They have similarities, but they're different. American audiences is like, no, this is Power Rangers. This is all we need. We don't need Ultraman. So, and you don't get Ultraman back in the States until Saban Entertainment sells Power Rangers, and he owned Fox Kids. He owned that block of programming, sells it to Disney. And so then Fox is like the regular, antenna channel is like, we need a Saturday morning block. So then they go talk to Four Kids and they say, hey, we'll do the Fox box. And that's where you get Ultraman
Mm.
Tiga, which is terribly dubbed. I mean, terribly dubbed.
Yeah, I
Like
was
that.
there for that shift. Like I was following Power Rangers, waking up
Mhm.
early on Saturdays, and then one morning I wake up and it's not Fox Kids anymore. And who's this like Kmart brand Power Ranger they're trying to tell me is the same thing? No.
Oh yeah, it was rough. And the thing is, Ultraman Tiga is a fantastic show.
Mm.
I just tell people just watch the Japanese version. You're gonna be happier if you do, much happier. But if I had the opportunity, I definitely would love to write um, Henshin heroes, metal heroes, space sheriffs, stuff like the odd stuff, well, like odd to the United States, like Wind Spectre. Um, Wind Spectre, honestly, when Power Rangers came out in the United States, I am shocked that no one took Wind Spectre and basically did an American version of it and used like the Japanese footage for the action sequences because it literally is like a Jerry Bruckheimer light action series for kids. And like the characters have personalities that you would see in like 80s, action series. Like I remember like one of the characters in Wind Spectre before he gets onto his mission, he takes out his comb, combs his hair back, puts it back, jumps in the vehicle, and it has so much spunk and heart and attitude. I'm like, yeah, this would have made a killing in the United States, but nobody thought of it. And but like I think a couple episodes are still on Toei's YouTube page. If they are, check them out. Like I said, I enjoyed it immensely. I thought it was just awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Like of other Toku hero franchises, I'm surprised like no one in America has done anything with this. Did you ever come across the Grand Caesar? franchise in your research?
Oh no, I didn't. I didn't. Can you break that down for me?
Yeah, so Toho in the early 2000s like did a knockoff of Power Rangers. And one of the Heisei Godzilla like writers, producers, like the one that directed Godzilla versus Destroya was like
Yeah.
heavily involved in this. And like it's like 12 heroes based on the Zodiac. There's a couple later incarnations as well,
Uh-huh.
giant robot fights, and like the ground level hero stuff leaves a lot to be desired from the couple episodes I found online, but like the the mecha stuff, you can tell this is Toho. Like the CGI is there, but it's like way more seamlessly integrated than it was in like the Super Sentai of the same time period.
Hmm.
And what's wild is like there is not a single podcast or like YouTube video essay or anything about this franchise. Like I'm chasing ghosts finding anything of it. Like there's a fan dubbing of it on Dailymotion, I think. And
Okay.
I wanted to be the first to make something about it, but I am just terrible at watching Japanese children's shows, so I couldn't bring myself to get through it. But
All right.
like that one is ripe for someone to harvest it, or I don't know, like make your own homemade tokusatsu show a la Power Rangers, steal the footage. Like there's so much material here.
And what is it called again?
Grand Caesar.
I am going to look for that. Oh, Choi or Cho Station Grand Zazer. Okay. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna dig into this to see if I
Hmm.
can find anything because my curiosity is piqued.
All right.
And it's funny you mentioned Toho doing Toku, like like Super Sentai style Toku.
Hmm.
There was a small period of time where Shaw Brothers, before they went out of business, known for their martial arts and wushu films, and just very which films that I love dearly. If you ever seen Goliathan, I believe it's called. As a matter of fact, I think we put Goliathan in the book, unless it was omitted from the book, because sometimes that does happen. But like, give me 1 second. Yeah, Goliathan. It was known overseas as the Mighty Peking Man, but in the United States, it was known as Goliathan. And so, like, that was an interesting film. But Shaw Brothers said, we're going to do Toku, with the exception of like Goliathan, which is kind of like Toku-ish because you're dealing with monster and suitmation and stuff like that. They did their like version of like they kind of did their own Henshin hero slash ultra hero. It's called Super Inframan.
Oh, I've heard of Inframan, that
And,
fever dream of a Toku movie.
oh, let me tell you, I loved every single thing about that bizarre movie. Like parts of it literally make no sense at all. How you got from point A to point Z. Like the character's power set changes like every like half hour. Like, oh, I didn't know he could grow like Ultraman and like stomp on monsters. Oh, look, he's doing 50-11 backflips, avoiding laser blasts, like for no reason. Oh, here we go. It's just the most like it's the most fun and bizarre thing that I've watched Toku wise. And I just adore it. I try to make time once a year for me and my dog Leia to watch it. We watch it together.
Hmm.
And like, cause she likes the noises. Because like it's got some weird noises and like so like her ears, like her left and right ear will just start to like move forward.
Hmm.
And it's the cutest thing. It's the absolute cutest thing. But yeah, like I wish Shaw Brothers would have done more Toku.
Hmm.
Um Honestly, it may have saved the studio, maybe. But but who knows? But who knows? But I like it when studios step out of their conventional boxes to try something different.
My own personal one of those that like I try and watch every year, or like it's what I show people to get them into Toku. Have you seen the 90s Mechanical Violator Hokkaido?
Yeah, it's been a while, but yes, I have seen it. Yes,
Oh
yes.
yeah, I love that. Just like everything a kid in the '90s could want, or like Terminator and RoboCop, and like
Mhm.
got elements of Venom in there. Like it's just everything I could possibly want, and all the like satanic imagery, the use of Jesus Town as their dystopia, like that. There's so much to love in that one.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's really cool. And Z-Ram, have you ever watched Z-Ram before?
It's top of the watch list because I do love the Keita Amamiya stuff I've seen so far.
Oh, cool. Like I had my friend Alex, he gave me his VHS copies. Not VHS, but his DVD copies of
Mm.
C-RAM because he got it on Blu-ray. And it's really cool. It's really cool. A movie that you should check out. This is just personal opinion, and once again, I know we are tangenting the living daylights out of this, but it's on the Internet Archive. It's called Mirai Ninja, if I'm not mistaken, Mirai Ninja, or because like in America, that film was taken and like dubbed and called Cyber Ninja in the '90s, and like like the dub is bad. Like I can't watch it, but like the actual film, the foreign film itself, it's low budget, and I can't remember the actor's name right now. But yeah, it came out in like 1988. It's so cool because literally he's doing this once again on $5 in a dream, and like some of the concepts, I'm like, you see like these like walking houses that are kind of like AT-ATs
Mhm.
and scout walkers. I'm just like, well, that's weird, but it's kind of cool. And the Mirai Ninja outfit is really awesome because the whole thing was like this movie was made for a video game.
Mhm.
Namco was like, yeah, we got this video game called Mirai Ninja, and yeah, let's make a movie. And literally, they did it on the super cheap, and it is available on Internet Archive. It's worth every single minute of your
I'll be looking that up. Yeah, like
time.
everything that like hits all of my favorite Toku stuff like has been from him, like with Kamen Rider Black, yeah, Hokkaido, the designs from like when he worked on Sentai, like that guy rules.
Yes.
Touching back on Ultraman though, you have the section in the book dedicated to like suggestions for those new to the genre and on movies, shows they should check out first. And I noticed you picked Ultra 7 over like the original Ultraman or any of the modern shows. And
Mhm.
I'm curious what to you makes Ultra 7 stand out among the others.
For me, like Ultra Seven brings me back every time I watch Ultra Seven. It brings me back to a time where life was simple, and I didn't have like a worry or a care in the world. And also, I had the innocent mind of not understanding that Ultra Seven was in the Ultra family because I was watching it on TNT in the mornings. I literally would program my VCR, and Power Rangers would like no Ultraman would come on. Now I'm sorry, Ultra Seven would come on at 7 o'clock. Power Rangers before they moved to the afternoon would come on at 7:30. So I'm literally programming the VCR to like stop. It's like 7:28, kick back on at 7:29, so I could get these back to back. And I literally just watch them every evening back to back. But like I love that design. I think the episodes are very accessible and easy to understand. I love the monsters that were made for that series, and it's no shade to Ultraman. I love the original Ultraman, and the thing is that I remember it as a kid years before seeing Ultra Seven. I knew of its presence, but it wasn't always accessible. But Ultra Seven was. It was like the most accessible Ultra series at the time in the '90s because once again, the Ultraman franchise was trying its hardest to become an American thing. And, because in Japan, it's their Superman. In other parts of the world, Ultraman is very popular. In the United States, it just couldn't gain ground. And so Ultra 7 was more prominent. And that's why I chose it.
I've been surprised with some of the gore I've seen from that one. Like Ultra Mega, the comic, was like what inspired this podcast in the first place.
Oh, okay.
And like I thought that was super like R-rated Hellboy Ultraman. But then I see some of this stuff from like Ultraman Ace, Ultra 7, and it's just as gory as anything that's in
Oh,
Ultra
yeah.
Mega.
Oh, yeah. Like Ultraman Taro. Oh, man.
Mm,
Ultraman, some of the stuff Ultraman Taro does to vanquish
mm,
kaiju, I'm like, yo, this is for kids.
mm.
I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I accept this. Like, this is complete and utter madness. The way like they've offed, certain kaiju. I'm like, this is brutal.
Now, I didn't get a chance to check it out before recording, but I have heard things about Ultra 7X, like that
Mhm.
2000s reboot. Have you had a chance to see that? Do you have thoughts?
No, I haven't. I like
Mm.
it's on my ever growing list of things to watch. Like I literally and I appreciate Super Riot Productions because their whole motto the last like 5 years has been hook or crook, you gonna get this Ultraman. And so they worked out the deal with Mill Creek. They've been putting them out on DVD, and like anytime I can find them inexpensively, I'm just out there grabbing them, buying them, And so I have like a stack of Ultraman series that like I can't wait to watch. It's just making time to do it. So yeah, I do want to check out that Ultra 7X. Hopefully it's available somewhere, but like
Yeah, it's on a Tubi, so you can check it out
oh,
for
okay.
free.
Tubi
Yeah.
provides. They provide.
Yeah, like I want to check it out. I love that it's only like 8 to 12 episodes long, 30-minute episodes. That's one of the best things a show can do for me right now with this limited time. But
Hmm.
it's also like a 2007 superhero show, and like American superhero stuff from 2007 doesn't hold up. I do not know how it's going to go internationally.
Yeah, yeah. I think internationally, I think I think it'll be fine.
Mm,
Because the thing is that like Toku storytelling in Japan is, if anything, they're consistent.
mm.
Then there are rules that they follow to a T, and like they don't break. And so I'm not saying that like tradition is their enemy because they still remain innovative. And like, with every different series, there's a new storyline, there's more, innovation with little to no money. But like, I think you'll get something good out
Yeah, on Ultraman, your book did solve a mystery that's been plaguing me since childhood. Your video game section, and it's like one or two paragraph summary of the Ultraman game on Super Nintendo, finally explained why I could never beat the first level. Like I found that game at a flea market, no
of
book
it.
or anything to help me out. Couldn't ever beat the boss. He'd just keep coming back. And I'd go to like cheat sites, game walkthroughs, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, do this combo and it'll kill him." And it never worked. It wasn't until your book mentioned like, "Oh, you got to watch the energy meter or something." Like, okay, that was way too much for kid me.
Oh
But
yeah, no, I get it. I
yeah,
get it. Like literally, you had to beat up the monster, watch your energy level, but then when the monster's energy level was low enough and your energy level was high enough, you could do the beam to like take the monster out. And there's have you ever heard a show called Game Center CX?
uh-uh.
Okay, it's a Japanese show. It's called Game Center's CX, and it's been on for like over a decade. And there's this guy. His name is Areno, and Areno is terrible at video games. He's awful at video games. And every single episode, he's got like the lab coat on, and he comes in and he sits down, and there's a game console and the game, and so he'll tell you what the game is. And the thing is, he has X amount of hours to beat said game. In one of the episodes, I'll see if I can find it. I know I have it somewhere. I'll put it on my Dropbox and I'll share it with you. It's the Ultraman episode, and he learns the hard way. He just like you had to figure out like how does this game work? I don't understand. So yeah, trust me. Like after watching that episode of Game Center CX, I was like, yeah, this is definitely going in the book, and I just started typing furiously.
Now, did you get a chance to play most of the games you included, or were you mostly going off of like playthroughs or other resources online?
Some were playthroughs, but like say for instance, like a lot of the computer games from the '80s. Like I was a computer kid. I was a computer kid, so like I was all into that. But like a lot of the PS2 games, the Xbox games, like the Xbox Godzilla games were great.
Mm.
I really enjoyed those. The ones that I always wanted to play, but like I just didn't have the console. Like any of the like Nintendo, like Game Boy Advance or DS Godzilla games, I wanted to get into those, but it's just like it's one of those things where it's like it wouldn't make sense for me to get this console because playing video games nowadays, as much as I enjoy video games, once again, it's this whole thing of time. So then it becomes a thing of, okay, well, if I buy a brand new console, then, and if I don't get, and I buy all these new games, if I don't get to them in like 2 or 3 years, I just should have waited. So now like it's more of a thing now where like I'm also learning about emulation and building an emulation station. It's like, okay, well, maybe this is the opportunity to play those DS games, those Game Boy Advance games, and make actual time. The Ultraman game, I played that a lot. When it was on Super NES, I was horrible at it, but like I just felt like I had something to prove. Never beat that game. Never beat it. But like there was like another monster, like Kaiju monster game that was on PS2, which didn't use like trademark Kaiju. They just made up their own. I think it was called War of the Monsters or something like that. I can't remember the title offhand. And I played the living daylights out of that too. Like I would play that game until literally my thumbs just hurt. So yes.
As far as finding online resources for things you might not be able to find yourself or like playthroughs, do you have any like favorite resources you look to for the book, or even like YouTube channels on Toku that came in handy?
Accented Cinema, because like they actually like they had a really good video talking about the differences between Japan audiences and Godzilla and American audiences and Godzilla. I thought that was a fascinating video. Also, there was a video about Hotel Gracery, which I found fascinating, because like I didn't know this hotel existed, and I accidentally stumbled upon this on YouTube after doing some other Godzilla searches.
And that's the hotel with the giant Godzilla head in Japan.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
And there were a couple of kaiju sites, like oh shoot, I think it was called Kaiju Battle, I believe, or but there were a few kaiju sites out there that I used, and there's like I used and I looked at for reference, and like there's all the Godzilla wikis out there. There's so many Godzilla wikis. There's so many, and trying to filter all this information, because like I literally would have like two screens up, and I've got like 4 different sites here, and I've got like 2 sites over here, and I'm like, okay, does all this information line up? Nope. Okay, so we can't put this in here, but we can use this over here. And you're literally just like, picking the most important parts and like verifying that yes, this happened. Yes, this happened. Okay, it did. Okay, great. We can definitely put that in the book. Also, I use the AFI website a lot too. The AFI website was good for me for certain films, because AFI only runs to a certain period of time. But finding information about composers and things like that. Now, a lot of that's in some of the Godzilla wikis, but and the thing is, if I'm not mistaken, like some of the composers, like 'cause originally when I was writing the movies, it was like, okay, here's your title, here's your director, here's your producer, here are your actors, here's your composer, here are your alternate film titles. I believe that the composer got removed from the listing because it's just like it was a space issue. And so like because like musical scores mean a lot to me. Like a film without a musical score to me is not a film. It sets as much action and drama and tense moments and calm and peace as much as acting does. And like scores are a very important part of any film, and like especially in kaiju. I mean, when you hear the Godzilla theme, something's about to go down. And it means something, strikes a chord with you. When I watch Ultraman, when his music hits, it means something. Like it has heart. A score has heart. Like the score is the heart of the film or the television or like the Toku series. It's the heart. And so it has value and worth. So I've completely lost the plot on the question that you asked, and I apologize.
Let's see. Oh yeah, I was talking about online resources.
Resources.
And I'm
Yes.
curious, have you come across the YouTube channel Blue Nova on YouTube?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, check him out. He's like my go-to video essayist on Toku. I know so much more about Ultraman thanks to him, despite watching very little Ultraman. But he does a great job like explaining the cultural context of a lot of these shows and movies, and like getting just enough behind the scenes details. Like I don't find many other essayists quite like him, and I think you'll really like his stuff. He does a nice array of things and just really brings in that cultural context I don't find many other places.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look. When you said Blue Nova, correct?
Yeah, BLU Nova.
Oh, okay, gotcha. There we go. Excellent. Okay, yeah. Oh, this looks cool. Yeah, I'll definitely be watching.
Oh, excellent.
Definitely be watching these. Now, yeah, the website, one of the websites was Kaiju Battle for sure. It was Kaiju Battle because they had like a lot of information on the backgrounds of the stories, like synopses and things like that. Because the thing is, like, there were hundreds of movies in this book, and out of these hundreds of movies, I know I've watched at least 55 to 60% of them. And so, like, in the span of 5 months, I don't have time to watch hundreds of movies. So, like, okay, we needed it's clip show time, it's synopsis reading time, it's what did this reviewer say about this film time, to like try to at least get the feel. Because yeah, I would love to watch War of the Gargantuans again, but I haven't watched that in like over a decade. And it's like, Shawn, we have no time. We have no time. We have to finish this book. We have no time.
And now I do want to touch on some of your other and previous work while I've got you here. And I'm, of course, especially curious about your experiences with Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And like having first found you through the Total Eclipse fan comic you wrote, like how did you go from making a Power Rangers fan comic to getting in a position where you got to write them in an official capacity?
Okay. So like 2019, like around 2018, I reached out to artist George Cambides, who I'd known for a while, immensely talented, and I thought his style worked great for this tribute comic. And at that time, he was looking for work, and like I had the money, and I was just like, "Yo," I was like, "Tell me what you need." I was like, "And this is the story I'm trying to tell." And he loved Power Rangers too, so it's like it worked, and I got the best out of him, because this is something that we both love. He enjoyed the script, and I was like, "Great." So we put it out in 2019. I didn't know it made its way to Reddit. I had no idea it made its way to Reddit. No idea whatsoever until you told me on this podcast it made its way to Reddit 5 years ago. Shocked. Okay. Absolutely shocked. Anywho. So I do the comic and like gets tons of downloads, and fast forward to around 2023. A friend of mine who's a writer, T. Franklin, at the time was talking with Boom Studios. They're trying to get her to pitch some books, and while she was talking to the editor, she was like, "Hey, my friend Shawn writes comics, and he's written a Power Ranger comic before, and he would love the opportunity to write a Power Rangers book." And so she forwarded a copy of Total Eclipse to said editor, and the editor was like, "Oh, I've seen this artwork before. I thought this was for like because like George had used that artwork as demo pages to send to editors, and they had seen those pages, so they thought it was just tryout pages." And so T was like, "No, this was an actual tribute comic that Shawn wrote, George drew and colored, and he knows what he's doing, and so you should give him a shot." And that editor, they were almost out the door from Power Rangers because their time was wrapping up with the series. And so editor reached out to me, said, "Hey, we're going to have an exclusive story that's in Go-Go Power Rangers Volume 2, deluxe hardcover edition. And it's only going to be in there and in the digital version of that deluxe hardcover." And they're like, "Yeah, we want you to write a story about a young TJ and Cassie, and like somehow incorporate that with Rocky, because in the Boom Power Rangers comics, Rocky has a very big family. He's got tons of siblings, and like his younger sister goes to the same school that TJ and Cassie go to." And so to be able to do something like that was really, really cool, and it focused on kids. Like, because TJ's a middle schooler in this story, Cassie's a middle schooler. And so you get to see them in action trying to save, kids from like Tengu warriors. And it's not that they're doing it to be cool. They're doing it because it's the right thing to do. We help others. If we help get everybody to safety, everybody's okay. And that's always the coolest thing about a lot of this Toku and Super Sentai stuff. It's like heroes are heroes, regardless if they have the power suit or not, regardless of whether they have the Henshin powers or not. Like, they are here to help. Okay. Like, they're here to help, and they spread that love, and they make other people want to help other people to make the world a better place. And like, that's what I kind of wanted to do with that story. And so like, I think I was able to do that, and also at the same time serve as a way of like Rocky talking to Zordon saying, hey, I know you're always looking for new, more recruits. And so when these kids get older, you might want to take a look at them. So yeah, I had a blast writing that, and George turned in that artwork like in a week, and it was amazing. So yeah, like that was a bucket list item for me. Like I didn't know if like anything else was going to come after that. I didn't know if anything else was going to come out after that Power Rangers wise. And it didn't, which is fine. There's plenty of people that want to work on that series. And so, but I got my shot to do it, and I think I did a really good job.
Are you much of a reader of the ongoing Power Rangers comics?
I did a bunch of research when I got the gig. When I got the gig, I literally went in and started reading, and like there are things about it I like, and there are things about it I'm just like, because I'm an old head, and like you watch Power Rangers for like almost like 30 something 40 years, and it's like I don't know if this really fits. But that's the thing. All this stuff is interpretive, and like just because I don't enjoy it doesn't mean that somebody else can't enjoy it. And I know a lot of folks love that series. Like the character of Matt, like that took me a long time to accept. But because like it just didn't feel right. And I know it's filling in all the gaps. It's filling in all the gaps from like, from like the actual television series, but like it was for me, it was like hard to grasp with that, because it's like they're like, well, we can justify like the new Green Ranger suit with the silver on the helmet and all this other stuff, and I'm like, I understand, I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, nah, no, it just I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I tried. I legitimately tried, but no, I know a lot of folks love that series, and the stuff I've read, the majority of the stuff I've read, I have enjoyed. I did enjoy. But yeah, like and maybe one day the opportunity will come around again to write another Power Rangers book, or if I have some extra money, maybe I'll call George. We'll do another one. So so being able to write that, it like I said, it means a lot to me. That is a teenage dream that I've had since I was a teenager, and all those decades later, it finally came true.
I was just listening to your interview on Camp Kaiju today and hearing you wax poetic about VR Troopers. And I'll just say, like, you're a fan of the Troopers,
Yes.
Check out Power Rangers Prime #1 that just came out. I think you'll be pleased.
I saw.
Okay.
I saw, like, the designs are going to take a minute for me to accept. Not that I'm a purist. I'm not a purist. But it's more of a thing of, yeah, because Hasbro has the rights to the VR Troopers name. They have the rights to the episodes, if I'm not mistaken, and the characters, but they don't have the rights to the Metal Heroes and like Space Sheriff stuff that Saban Entertainment like literally Frankenstein to make this series. So that's why the outfits look a little different. They look a little different. It doesn't look exactly like Metal Dirt. And like, let's see, is Ryan Steele. Ryan Steele's character was Metal Dirt in Japan. But then in season 2, because they ran out of Metal Dirt footage, they were like, okay, we're going to use Scheider, and we're going to replace Metal Dirt with Scheider. And this was also during a period of time in the 90s where like when they had to shoot American footage, they didn't know how to make those suits, and they look horrible and clunky. And I'm like, no one can move in this. It's like watching like Love Power Rangers. Go watch when like Green Ranger comes back the first time, and like they have to shoot like all new footage, and like because he's like he has to fight all of these putties to go get the power coins back, right? And like Zordon is temporarily giving him powers, but like it's dangerous for him to do it. And like he shows up, helmet looks great, the suit looks great, but that shield, whoo, just literally just flapping in the wind. And I'm like, no. The dragon shield is hard plastic. It's not like plush. Like, what are we doing? And so like the fight scene is great. Like that fight scene is absolutely great, to the point where, Tommy is like, he's down on his knees and like he still has the powers, but like he's just exhausted and like it's hurting him. And like, like everybody's like, hey, this is, the rest of the Power Rangers without their power coins at the time are like, this is really dangerous. I think we should pull Tommy back. And Jason literally turns to Zordon and is like, turn it up. He can do it. Turn it up. And I was like, okay. All right, well, great. Here we go. And so yeah, once again, tangent. I apologize.
Nah, I showed my girlfriend those episodes recently, and like, I'm surprised when the American footage actually hits, and that's one of those cases. Like, they're fighting in the dark dimension, and it's like a long dynamic shot that's like just got so many people fighting on screen. Like, despite their shoestring budget, they still kind of knew what they were doing over here as well.
Oh yeah. There were times where like they got it right. And there were definitely times when they got it right for like the MMPR era. Like Zeo though, like they shot so much original footage for Zeo. Those suits are immaculate.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just gorgeous. Like those episodes are well shot. They like the color coordination is fantastic. Like they just look so good. And like Zeo and In Space are like my favorites. Like Turbo has a soft spot in my heart because like the one thing Turbo really deals with is change. And also like Saban Entertainment being like, you know what? Yeah, we didn't tell y'all that we're gonna fire y'all and replace y'all with these cats here. But yeah, today's your last day. And I'm like, man, that's cold blooded. Like that is cold blooded.
That on Power Rangers Zeo though, like, while it's my dream to one day get it right on Power Rangers in some capacity, whether that's just a small story or something ongoing, like Power Rangers Zeo is my dream book because, like, I mean, the tropes of Power Rangers are found in a million other places. Like, I can and have made my own Toku hero team to put in a comic and ran with that. But, like, Power Rangers Zeo specifically with the, like, okay, they had powers, but now they have better powers, but stuff's going harder. Their villains are tougher. And, like, you're starting to deal with that change. Like, this I can't do in my own original work. This is something that can only be done specifically within the capacity of Power Rangers Zeo. Could also make it work in like Turbo and In Space as well.
Yes, the Machine Empire is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
like greatest villains in Power Rangers history, the Machine Empire, and possibly Dark Spectre. Like those, great, absolutely great. Like that was such a shift from Rita and Lord Zed. Because like the Rita Lord Zed thing was always comical. It was always comical, whereas the Machine Empire is like, listen, we're here to blow stuff up. We're here to take over the Earth. That's all we're here for. There are no jokes. We're coming. That was it. Like, that was absolutely it. And
like the villains are scared of them. That's how you know stuff's hitting the fan as a kid.
Yes. Yes. Like it's so much fun, like, reminiscing like over Power Ranger stuff. Like Zeo was great. Like Zeo gave me everything. It gave me everything. Like the only thing I would have asked for was only other thing I would ask for, that's just me being selfish, is like just seeing Trini and Zach come back for like an episode or two. That's it. And the possible Power Rangers Zeo VR Troopers crossover that was supposed to happen, and they just opted to not do it because of budget.
That sucks.
Yeah, that's why like the character that plays Caitlin Starr shows up in the episode as she's like, they don't do the team up, but yet the character that plays Caitlin Starr shows up in the episode of Zeo that takes place at the ski resort and like has like a thing for Tommy. Yeah.
Oh.
And it's like, and the whole thing, like originally like Brad Hawkins, who plays Ryan Steele in VR Troopers, was originally supposed to be the White Ranger, but Tommy was so popular, they were like, well, we got to bring Jason David Frank back, because Jason David Frank was actually, after losing the powers and losing the Green Ranger mantle, he's going to leave the show. He was actually going to do Metalder. They originally they were just going to take the
Cybertron.
God, that promo is off.
What I love though is this like Cybertron VR Troopers pilot. Like they take the Green Ranger song that like Ron Wasserman made and just as lazily as possible change it like Cybertron.
Yes.
Doesn't fit at all, but okay.
Not at all. And I'm like, man, Hasbro gonna come for y'all. Like, how you gonna name something Cybertron, like, and think you're gonna get away with it? You know, like they will bring Optimus Prime and Megatron to your house. Like, what are you doing?
Take you out with a gun that looks like OG Megatron.
Yes.
Now, I've noticed whenever I see your author bio, you mention your love of Zack Taylor, the original Black Ranger, and I've heard you speak at length elsewhere about why he's the greatest black superhero of all time. But I'm curious, like, now that you've written a few superheroes of your own and written even a few black superheroes of your own, like, how has that love and like early appreciation of Zack Taylor shaped the way you write your own heroes?
It shaped the way I write heroes in a way where I want kids to be able to see themselves in these characters. So say for instance the gamer, which is a superhero series which is heavily Toku influenced. You know, it's three influences: video games, Toku slash Super Sentai, and Miles Morales Spider-Man. It's like Toku with Spider-Man type humor. And like I wanted like black kids to see themselves because the gamer's alter ego is a 13-year-old named Tyler. Like so, like Tyler's friends, it's a very like diverse mix of kids. So like other kids get to see themselves too. And like even though the friends aren't in every single book, they still show up enough so you know you get to see them and understand that Tyler does have friends and he has a life outside of being a superhero. And the thing is that like the character of Zach Taylor, played by Walter Emanuel Jones, plays heavily into that for me because once again it was a thing of like in the 90s there were like there were a few black television shows, but like I said, I loved cartoons and I loved like action stuff, like you know, and like so like when Power Rangers became a thing, like oh we have a superhero, oh well this is cool because before that it's Robert Townsend as Meteor Man and like Damon Wayans as Blank Man, and also I'm not going to forget about Mantis, played by Carl Lumbly, which has a fantastic pilot movie. The pilot movie's great because the pilot movie is black as hell. It is black. It is blackety black, black, black. And I love everything about it. And Fox was like, yeah, we'll take this as a series. Come on. And literally, before they start filming season one, they were like, can you make it more accessible for white people? And so like it has its moments, but like the core that was built in the pilot was just yanked. Was just yanked from it. And so what you get is kind of milk toast at times. Once again, tangent. Sorry. So like, but like Zach was just really like, you know, yeah, his character's cool. Yeah, he does the cool dances and like and whatnot. But I just always thought he was just a fantastic character. And like I wish we would have had him longer on the show. I understand why, you know, because Saban wasn't paying nobody and they wanted their money, you know. So he's like, I gotta go. But there's just something that's just memorable about him. That and also Walter Emanuel Jones does not age.
Mm.
You know, like he should be in his 50s and he looks like he's in his 30s. And I'm like, I don't know what he's eating or what medicine he's taking. I would like to borrow that. So
Yeah.
so
And he
yeah.
is consistently like the best convention experience for anyone that's meeting Power Rangers actors. Like I had a wonderful time, like first Comic-Con. I've heard of others like breakdancing in Comic-Con and all of a sudden they look over and Walter Jones is dancing with them. Like it just
That's awesome. That is so cool. Yeah, I met him. I met him like at one of our conventions here in Lexington, and like I had him autograph because I still have like an automorphin Zach in
mm,
package, and I had him autograph it. And like one of my homies, one of my friends, Julian Lido, who's also like big into Toku, Power Rangers, and stuff like that. Like we've literally had like hours full of conversations of, hey, if we could get in the room at Hasbro, this is what we're going to do. But but like at that time, this was a time where the Google glasses were a thing, and Julian had them before anybody else did. But like you know, but people knew of them, and
mm.
so Walter Emanuel Jones saw Julian with the glasses, and he was like, "I'm stealing them glasses." Just acting so like I'm stealing them glasses. You know, I'm from Detroit. I'm taking them glasses. You know, so he's really nice. He's really
Hmm.
nice.
Now, on the gamer, something I really appreciated. Like I had a chance to sit down, read through a bunch of them at my local library, and I noticed the like discussion questions, right? Classroom writing prompts in the back, and
Yes.
that's something I've not really encountered before, and I was curious how that came to be as part of the series.
Okay, so because it's a high-low reader series, the purpose of a high-low reader series is to get kids and people who don't read into reading. So it's this effect of we write these stories with short sentences, special effects text, highlighted words, spot illustrations, and seeing that they are technically for kids. And a lot of times, the book publisher that publishes them, Capstone finds their way more into school libraries and public libraries than they do in the actual like Barnes and Nobles and like your big box bookstores. Okay, so their focus is very like schoolish. So like you get this incredible story, and then at the end, if the kids are enticed, okay, well here's some questions that we're going to ask to see, did they really read the story? Do they understand what's going on? Can we get them excited enough to like write their own story or talk about what happened next and things like that? And so there's just like these exercises to just kind of get them jump started, you know. And so and that's like one of the things like I really like when I do work for Capstone, because I've written like a lot of books for them. Like a lot of times we have those questionnaires in these books. And so like there was a show that I did. It was like a library show last year, and a kid, his parents walked up to my table. And they were like, "Oh, I've seen these at my school." He's pointing to the gamer books, and he said, "Well, like for this book right here, it said, in the questions, it said write about what happened next after da 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 da." And I wrote like a 2-page story, and it was really really cool. Can I tell you about it? I'm like, "Yeah, come on,
Mm-hmm.
let me hear it." And so and like the parents were like, yeah, he loves these books. And so like hearing that's really cool. And it's not just boys, it's girls too. And that's what I find awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love that. I absolutely love that. Like these books are for everybody. And like it's awesome. Like I've written 12 of them. I want to write more of them, but like Capstone is like, well, we've done enough. We've done enough.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 12. And like I was talking with a friend, and he was like, that's a lot of books, Shawn. And I was like, yeah, it is. But like, you can never have enough Toku in your life. So
Mm-hmm.
I would love to revisit that series.
Yeah, like any plans if you get that chance to like incorporate other Toku elements or like do an origin story, crossover kind of stuff, anything else we'd see in a
Um,
Toku show?
I honestly, I want to turn it into a team book.
Mm.
I want to turn it into a team book. And so you still have Tyler, aka the gamer, but now his friends are also Toku heroes, and they're teamed together. And so then we can have stories about talking about, okay, sometimes teamwork doesn't always work. This is what we have to do to fix that. And or like, maybe a teammate, one of the team members has a certain fear or phobia. How do the others help them get over that phobia? Can they help them get over that phobia? Or is this something that person has to handle on their own? And they're like, and there's all different types of stories that like you can tell, and still make really cool monsters, and maybe make a new supervillain other than Cynthia Cyber. Like Cynthia Cyber is my Rita Repulsa slash Lady Doctor Octopus. Like that's the core of Cynthia Cyber. And so like, yeah, I would like to create like a couple of new villains and stuff like that, because the whole thing about the gamer is also the publisher specifically stated all the stories are one and done. So there's no particular reading order.
Mm.
And it makes it easier for kids to be like, they don't feel frustrated because like, oh, I didn't read it right. I didn't read it in the right order. No, no, no. There's no order. They're all standalone. And I think it's cool that like, yeah, we just jump you right into the story. Like you
Mm.
literally jump right into the story. It's like, oh, this kid's got a device, turns into a superhero. That's it. We don't explain how he got that wrist device. We haven't given an origin story. And I know in America, we're all about origin stories, but there's something about keeping that like not a secret as much as just not doing that, I think helps the book actually.
And have you thought about trying to get it made as like a slightly older series, like now that you have more characters you'd have to balance in a book, like could they target it as like its own separate sequel thing that like kids can graduate to read to when they're a little bit older past the Gamer series?
If the publisher would allow, yeah,
Mm.
if the publisher would allow it. Like that's the whole thing. Like the one thing about the Gamer, it's like one of the things I sincerely love that I've written and helped co-create with the artist Francesca Ficarelli, but I don't own it,
Mm.
and because it was a work for hire gig. But like I put a lot of heart into it because the reason why I wrote the Gamer that way is because I was like, well, at that time I was like, man, you're never going to write a Power Rangers comic. So outside of the one that outside of Total Eclipse, I was like, chances of you writing one for Boom kind of slim, man. So why don't you do your Power Rangers here?
Mm.
And so and that's really like how it really came to be, because like spite is a hell of a tool
Mm.
sometimes. And so I'm like, I'll show everybody. But yeah, it's a thing, and like I hope I'm able to talk with the publisher in the future about and see if we can push it forward and make it that next level for kids.
Now, wrapping up here, I always like to tailor a question of the week to the guest in particular. And I really appreciated the inclusion of a comic section in Kaiju Unleashed. You had all
Mhm.
my favorites like Ultra Mega and Kaiju Max, but like in researching this and your own readership, what has been your favorite Toku related comic so far? And what do you think generally makes Tokusatsu work in a comic when attempts are made?
My favorite is Shogun Warriors. It's from the 1970s. And a toy line that was successful for 2 years that literally just took toys from Japan, molds from Japan, renamed them, and just said, have fun. First year, top five selling toy. Next year, Star Wars is here. Everybody forgot about Shogun Warriors after that. It was over. Okay. And because the toys stopped selling, Marvel was like, well, we're not making this book anymore. We're not making this book. Like they found a way, because like I always forget which mecha that they used, like for Shogun Warriors. They used let's see here. Okay, so they used Raideen, Dangard Ace, and Combatra. Those are the three that they used. Originally, I believe they were going to use Grandizer. They were going to use Grandizer. They were going to use Grandizer or maybe a Mazinger, and like they didn't have the rights, so they're just like, no,
Hmm.
let's just use these instead. And so, like, but the cool thing is that Shogun Warriors are incorporated into the Marvel 616. So there are times where like, oh hey, look, they're fighting with the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four's here to help. And like as a kid, that's mind blowing, okay?
Hmm.
Because it's just like, wait a minute, I thought these two worlds didn't intersect, you know. And so because of like Shogun Warriors, you get Marvel creating their own like mecha robot known as Red Ronin, okay?
Hmm.
Which like over like the last like 30 years is barely being used, okay? Barely, if any. But like there's just something about, there's something about mecha, and it's drawn in a way because like it's penciled by Herb Trimpe. But the thing about it is that Herb Trimpe and Mike Vosberg, but like they at times they would have like elements of anime in some of the drawings. Not always, but there was these elements that would just pull you in and say, "Oh, okay, cool. All right, this is awesome." And like plus like so this robot's battling each other, and it's artistically done well and colored really cool. And because of the Shogun Warriors comic, I then read the Marvel Godzilla comic, which is even more bizarre because like it's basically Shield versus Godzilla. Dum Dum Dugan is like, I don't like this Godzilla. We have to destroy it. That's it. Like that's absolutely it. Once again, Godzilla's in the 616.
I
You know,
love that they've got the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, X-Men all right there. Like, nah, we're just gonna throw Shield agents. Dum Dum Dugan is gonna be his nemesis, not
Mhm.
anyone that makes sense.
No. We don't need those other cats. No. Dum Dum. Just give me that one. Derby hat and that big cigar that's like hanging off the side of his mouth or somehow holding up via like special gravity away from his mouth every time he talks. Ridiculous. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. There's an issue of Godzilla where Godzilla gets shrunken down to like the size, it's like a very small size, like less than a foot tall, and like if that tall, and ends up in the sewer and fights a rat.
Hmm.
It's so bizarre and so weird, and like I like it. I like it when like comics will just says, hey, this is comics. It's okay. The world's not going to end if we tell the story. So those are those in all sincerity are my favorites. Like the IDW Godzilla stuff has been cool. Like I've read like bits and pieces of that. Like an artist, Dave Wachter, has done like a lot of work on the Godzilla series, and he's very very talented. But like I read some of the IDW stuff. The Dark Horse stuff is the stuff I really want to find. And like that's kind of hard to find now because that Dark Horse stuff, they don't have the rights anymore, and so it's just out in limbo. So, but yeah.
Now, I know Kaiju Unleashed just hit stores last month in October, but among this, what other projects should our listeners be keeping an eye out for in the near future?
All right. Well, for the kids, if you are interested, Olympic snowboarder Shawn White, I've written for the Who HQ series. I've written Who is Shawn White. It's the biography of Shawn White, so you learn his history, like how he got into snowboarding and skateboarding, and like the Olympic events, the training measures that he had to take to get to where he got to in his career, and what he's doing now that he's no longer a Olympic snowboarder. So that literally came out like a couple of days before Kaiju Unleashed came out. Let's see here. Also, like the last 4 books in the Gamer series, books 9 through 12, came out in September. Those were a lot of fun, and like I said, I love that series dearly, and it means a lot to me. Like when I go talk to schools, when I do author visits at schools, like that series really gets talked about a lot, and like kids just gravitate to it, and so I love that series. And also, I've written a graphic novel about Stephen Bishop, who was an enslaved man who basically discovered a majority of the caverns in Mammoth Caves. And so like he discovered like, all types of caverns and gypsum deposits and like underground like cavern rivers. So, river like all types of stuff. And became so renowned that people from around the world would come to Mammoth Caves and say, well, I'm not going on a tour unless I get Stephen Bishop to take me on a tour. And so like he had this fame and notoriety, but he's not free. And he wasn't free until 7 years after his owner died. So it's one of those things where you're telling a story where it's like, look at all these important things that this man accomplished, but at the same time it's like, yeah, he's never free. Like he's not free, and like he and his wife and his child, they're not free until 7 years after the slave owner dies, and it's so messed up. And so there's that. And like there's we did Justin Stewart and Trisina Bowling, we did a expanded edition of Kentucky Kaiju. Kentucky Kaiju is a book that we did a few back in like 2016. And it's basically because we all live in Kentucky, and we took like actual cities and towns in Kentucky and created kaiju for them. And so like I wrote the histories and the histories and the backgrounds for the kaiju, and Trisina and Justin, they did the double page spread artwork. So originally it was like a little digest format, and we love that book, and like we take it to shows and it does well. But Justin got the rights back for it, and he wanted to do an expanded edition, in a larger format instead of the micro size format. It's like 8.5 by 11 essentially. And he did a Kickstarter for it a few months ago. That Kickstarter was successful, and now he's shipping out copies, and I hope to have my copies soon. And next year, my debut graphic novel with FSG Books / Macmillan, Fast Break, drawn by Del Hahn. It's a basketball graphic novel for middle readers, and it's about a basketball prodigy named Michaela, who her mom finally got the job that she's always wanted, and so they move across town literally a week before basketball season starts, and so now she's moved to this new school. And so it's all this change, and it's a story about responsibility. It's a story about how much sometimes children take on that they shouldn't have to take on, but they do because they don't know how to express themselves and talk to their parents about it. And it's a story about change. It's a story about friendship. It's a story about, hey, make mistakes. You can fix this, and it's okay to ask for help. It's so many things, and basketball is just intertwined into it. And so like this has been in the works for like over 4 years. And so I'm excited for it to come out next year.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this in conjunction with that. My best friend has been super inspired by sports anime and manga and is now working on some sports comics of their own and like in some really interesting ways trying to bring it to audio dramas or like the audio
Hmm.
format. So when it comes to translating sports into like other mediums, do you have any advice that I can pass along then?
I'll say my personal opinion, the two easiest ones to translate would probably be football and baseball.
Hmm.
Especially like with baseball, because if you like listen to like baseball on the radio, immensely descriptive. To the point where like a lot of times it does feel like an audio drama because of the way the announcers and your color commentator are selling the game. Okay. So like that I feel is very it's easier to transcript into an audio drama. Same with football. And with because with football, you have an announcer. Announcer's always talking the whole game. Even as you're watching the play, you're watching every single play, that announcer is there. Kind of like basketball too, but like basketball is a little bit more intricate. It's a little bit more intricate. But football, you're gonna have like a number of special effects, but that announcer is still during the game is leading that story, and then you can still do the cut-ins to like the huddle, and and like then like the announcer isn't anywhere to be found. We're just in the huddle, and it's the players talking, and you just have to find that balance between announcer as narrator and athletes being the acting part, letting them have their moments too. So also like I would say start small and like do like 5 or 10 minute episodes. Then do short episodes, because at least that way in the beginning you can learn, like they can learn the ropes. They can learn the ropes, and like because they're going to make mistakes, but they can learn from those mistakes. And if you do it in 5 and 10 minute episodes, it like you're teaching yourself how to finish something.
Hmm.
Okay. So then you can do a 30-minute episode, but also pace yourself too, because like, we all like have this thing like, oh, create this massive universe. We'll do this. And it's like you got so many hours in a day. And you have to coordinate people. And like, you got to coordinate people, and you got to write the story, and you got to do the recording, and then you got to blend all the voices together, and then we got to put in special effects sounds, and then we got to do this, and then we have to like finalize it. Then okay, we got to listen to it, make sure it sounds good. Okay, everything's good. Okay, now we got to publish it. Like there's a lot to do. So start small.
Hmm.
Start small and then grow, and and you'll be better off for
Yeah, I think he's well ahead of you, but yeah, thank you for the advice there. I'll be happy to pass that on, or he'll definitely hear this episode.
it.
But Sean, where can my listeners find you online?
Oh yeah, okay. You can find me on Blue Sky. Blue
Mm.
Sky at ShawnRPryor.com. I mean Shawn R. Pryor, sorry. I do have a website that's ShawnPryor.com. But like Shawn R. Pryor at Blue Sky. The Sean P Show on Instagram. Like I still have my Twitter account, but like I really only thing I use that for now is just like, hey, I was on a podcast. Boop, that's it. And like I walk away. Like I walk away like
Same.
I'm not active. I'm not really active on that as of this moment. It's just like maybe a post or two a week. But like Blue Sky is where I'm
Oh
at.
yeah, I love Blue Sky.
Oh yeah, it's been really cool. I really enjoy it. So like yeah, so Blue Sky and Instagram, best ways to find me, and my website, ShawnPryor.com. I need to update my website and put more books on there. And eventually we'll do that during Christmas break. But those are like the best places to find me. I have an author page on Amazon as well. And if you go to bookshop.org, type my name, you'll find a bunch of my books there too.
Amazing. Well, Sean, thank you again for making the time to come on the show tonight. It's been delightful having you and talking about all things tokusatsu. And again, great job on this book. This was so fun, and I can't wait to show it off on my coffee table for the foreseeable future.
Oh, well, thank you, Tommy. No, it's been fantastic talking to you, and this has been a lot of fun. I'd love to come back sometime in the future, and all the best to you, and have a wonderful holiday season. Wish you a wonderful Thanksgiving and a wonderful Christmas, and do take care of yourself and continue best to you.
Thank you. If the listeners at home have any recommendations for content you'd like us to cover in the future, you can send them our way on social media. You can find us on the Giant Size Violence Facebook page, on Twitter is at UltraMegaCast, or on Blue Skies at Tommy Trimbath, or email us at giantsizeviolence@gmail.com. I'd like to thank you again for giving our podcast a chance and give a special shout out to artists Ray Day Parade and Dark Moon Home Video for designing our logo and cover photos. Our intro and outro music is You're an Ace Kid by Demon Dice from their album Alcatraz. You can check out their EP, Shut Up, Get Happy, on iTunes and Spotify. I hope you join us again next time as we continue to explore the world of tokusatsu as seen in comics and elsewhere. But until then, take care and remember to do your part in preventing the spread of the Kaiju virus.
Freedom can't be seen by downcast eyes. So raise your gaze until you're 10 feet tall and shake your fist to the sky. Refuse to die or let them make you small, cause they love just to see you convinced you're just a brick in the wall. But you're not just a brick in the